What up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video. And in this video, you will learn about authentication, authorization, accounting, and non-repudiation concepts. What up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video. And in this video, you will learn about authentication, authorization, accounting, and non-repudiation concepts. Authentication is the act of proving an assertion, such as the identity of a computer system user. Authentication simply means that the individual is who the user claims to be. For example, when a user logs into a computer, network, or email service, the user must provide one or more items to prove identity. Single-factor authentication, also known as SFA, is the simplest form of authentication methods. SFA is authentication in which a user or device must provide a single form of identification, such as a username, password combination. A single-factor login can be secured if a password is complex and difficult to guess or crack, but it can also be extremely insecure if a password is short or easy to guess. For this reason, multi-factor authentication is favored whenever possible. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is an authentication method in which a computer user is granted access only after successfully presenting two or more pieces of evidence or factors to an authentication mechanism. Typically, multi-factor authentication works with some combination of the following: what the user knows, such as a password or a PIN; what the user has, such as a smart card or a fob; what the user is, such as biometric data; something the user does, such as a walking gait or handwriting; and where the user is, something like trusted or untrusted locations. So examples of factors: many types of authentication factors can be combined to create a strong authentication scheme. So we have passwords. A password is the most typical authentication factor. Unfortunately, passwords can be compromised in a myriad of ways. Then we have PIN. A personal identification number is a useful alternative to a password used to prove positive identification. It is often used with automatic bank teller machines, accessing wireless networks, mobile devices, etc. One-time password. A one-time password is a password that is valid for only one login session or transaction on a computer system or other digital device. One-time passwords are an effective way of dealing with security risks when logged into email, e-commerce, through remote access, or other types of service from public devices. So here are some examples of one-time passwords. You're generating a list of passwords that can be used to log into a remote site just once, or you asking users who want to log into Wi-Fi or another wireless service to provide a mobile phone number to receive a one-time password to the wireless network. Software token, also known as a soft token, is a piece of a two-factor authentication security device that may be used to authorize the use of computer services. Software tokens are stored on a general purpose electronic device, such as a desktop computer, laptop, PDA, or mobile phone, and can be duplicated. Hardware token may be a physical device that an authorized user or of computer services is given to ease authentication. This may be a USB dongle that provides a key, or a device that the person carries with them that displays a set of numbers that change with time, such as an RSA secure ID to provide two-factor authentication. Biometrics uses recognition of a body part via a fingerprint, face, or retinal scan To determine the user's identity, many corporate laptop computers include fingerprint readers, and fingerprint readers that support Windows and Mac OS can be connected to a USB port. Several iOS and Android smartphones and tablets also include fingerprint readers. Specific location. So with some software, you can restrict access based on a device's IP address or specific location. So here are a few examples. With Microsoft OneDrive for Business, the device access dialog allows a network manager to restrict access to specific IP addresses. Microsoft Azure's Active Directory conditional access features has options such as requiring multi-factor authentication for users who are not connected to the corporate network and blocking access for users in specified locations. Somewhere you are. So with some software, you can restrict access based on somewhere you are, such as restricting specific logins to a particular GPS zone, restricting access based on the time of day, and restricting access via console terminal requirements. Security questions are typically used to help reauthorize a user who needs to replace a lost password. Here's some typical security questions. Where were you born? Where did you graduate high school? And what is your mother's maiden name? Single sign-on, also known as SSO, is a property of access control of multiple related yet independent software systems. Some SSO implementations require the user to sign in just once, whereas others can detect the correct credentials when the user connects and performs a silent or promptless login. SSO is available in Windows, Linux, and cloud networks. Some of the benefits and risks of SSO are as follows. So the benefits: users have fewer username and password combinations to remember. Users get to work faster because they spend less time entering passwords. Users don't need to ask for assistance from the help desk employees because of a lost password. SSO makes managing the security profiles of individual users easier. Some of the risks: a compromised SSO password puts all resources accessible with SSO at risk. A disgruntled employee with SSO access can cause problems with all resources available with SSO. And a lost or forgotten SSO password prevents the employee from doing any work until a new password is set up. Authorization is the function of specifying an authenticated user has access rights and privileges to resources. Let's talk about permissions. Permissions, sometimes referred to as rights or privileges, are access details given by users or network administrators that define access rights to files on a local machine or network. Network permissions apply to any remote network user of a shared resource, such as a folder or file. In Unix, Linux, and Mac OS, local and remote users are managed the same. In Windows, network permissions are handled through the properties sheet for an object. And what you would do, you would select advanced sharing to change the network permissions on a per user or per group basis. In Mac OS, network permissions are handled through the Systems Preferences Sharing button, and then you would click File Sharing, then click the plus sign in the Share folder to select the new folder to share. Click each user or group and select Read and Write, Read Only, or other options that may be present. To share with the Windows user, click Options and select the user. Mac can also run Unix and Linux permission commands from a terminal session. In Unix and Linux, network permissions and file system permissions are the same. The file folder permission change is made with the command sudo chmod or chmod, and ownership changes are made with the sudo chown command. They work with either local or network users. Some Linux distros include a GUI for setting permissions. Least privilege model. The least privilege model, also known as the principle of least privilege, is the concept and practice of restricting access rights for users, accounts, and computing processes to only those resources absolutely required to perform routine, legitimate activities. For example, if a user needs to update a file inside of a folder, the user should not have full control of the folder, which could allow for the user to possibly delete the folder or perform other actions outside of the scope of updating a file residing inside of the folder. 4 access control methods are covered in the IT Fundamentals exam, and they are role-based access, rule-based access, mandatory access control, and discretionary access control. Role-based access, also known as RBAC, RBAC, it restricts network access based on a person's role within an organization and has become one of the main methods for advanced access control. So for example, assume that there are 4 groups in your organization, right? If you are in the HR group, you have read, write, change access to HR folders only. If you were in the marketing group, you have read, write, change access to marketing folders only. If you're in the finance group, you would have read, write, change access to finance folders and read access to HR and marketing folders only. If you were in the IT group, you would have read, write, change access to HR, marketing, and finance folders. This method is also referred to as non-discretionary access control. User account types. So in Windows, there are 3 built-in user account categories. You have the administrator, standard, and guest. The administrators can perform any task, including installing new apps, deleting existing users, and much more. Standard users can manage their own accounts, but must provide the name and password for an administrator before they can perform administrator level tasks. Standard accounts can be set up using family safety as children accounts that could be supervised and have content limited by age. Guest accounts are designed for temporary use for different users or by different users and cannot access other users' files or make changes to system settings, users, or passwords. In Windows 10, guest accounts must be added through local users and groups, command prompt, or group policy. In Mac, open the Apple menu, System Preferences, Users and Groups to set up one of the 4 types of accounts: Administrator, Standard, Manage with parental controls, or Sharing only. You can also set up a group, convert a standard or managed user to an admin, or set up a guest user that can be managed optionally with parental controls. In Linux, some distros such as Ubuntu disable the admin or the root account by default. To perform root tasks on these distributions, users must use the command sudo and whatever the command name is and the user's own password. The sudo add user and the username command is used to add a standard user in Ubuntu and other Debian-based distributions. The sudo add group name creates a group, and sudo add user username group name adds a specified user to a specified group. The account setup process for an iOS device such as an iPhone or an iPad varies according to whether you are setting up your iOS device, moving from another iOS device, or moving from an Android device. An important part of the setup process for new users is creating an Apple ID. The account setup process for an Android smartphone varies according to the device manufacturer and whether you are a new user or moving from another Android device. An important part of the setup process for new users is signing up for a Google account. Rule-based access, which also shares the same acronym as role-based access, or RBAC, is when a request is made for access to a network or network resource. The controlling device checks properties of the request against the set of rules to control access. So, for example, internet access is only available during business hours from 9 to 6 p.m. to the office group. However, the IT group can access the internet 24 hours a day. The rules for a particular network resource are enforced with access control lists, or ACLs. Mandatory access controls, or MAC, is a set of security policies constrained according to system classification, configuration, and authentication. MAC is a top-down method for managing access. Users have no options to make changes in how a resource can be accessed. Access is controlled by an administrator, provided settings that define the object's classification and the category that can use the object. So think of this in terms of top secret files, confidential files, etc. Device access controls, discretionary access controls. Discretionary access controls is a type of security access control that grants or restricts access via an access policy determined by an object owner's group and or subjects. Discretionary access controls enable users to determine which users and groups can have access to their resources and at what level. For example, in Windows, files and folders have owners. The owner of a file or folder can grant read, write, or other access levels to other users. Discretionary access controls can be limited by mandatory access controls. Accounting. Accounting is the process of keeping track of a user's activity while accessing the network resources, including the amount of time spent in the network, the services accessed while there, and the amount of data transferred during the session. Three common methods include logs, tracking, and web browser history. Logs. A log file is a file that keeps a registry of events, processes, messages, and communication between various communicating software applications and the operating system. A system admin can view these files remotely if your computer is on a network to see what you and your computer have been doing. Windows 7 and later versions store their event logs in this folder. It will normally be the C drive, but it will be system drive /Windows /System32 /WinEVT /logs. The Windows security log records all login and logout information by account and type. You can open a log file by double clicking it or opening the computer management and using the menu shown below to get access to that information. The Windows application log records all application information, and what you can do, you can click filter current logs to open the dialog so that you can search for specific entries inside of these logs. Linux and Mac logs, they log many types of events, and you can see their logs by opening up a console, and it will look something like that. Let's talk about tracking. Online tracking refers to a website or company that tracks the pages you visit, searches you perform, and other activities to improve their service or sell to other companies. Tracking can also monitor your device's geographic location. Location tracking is used by mobile devices that run Android and iOS, as well as devices running Windows 10 and Mac OS High Sierra and later editions. This feature can be added to Linux devices with apps such as Location Magic. Location tracking helps bring you more accurate and complete location-based information, such as if you go into your Google app and you type food near me, it'll show you a bunch of restaurants that are in your immediate vicinity. But all of that location tracking does come with the cost in terms of maintaining one's privacy. So to disable location tracking in Windows 10, you would open Settings, Privacy, and Location. You can disable location settings by app or disable all location services. To disable location tracking in Mac, you would open System Preferences, Security and Privacy, Location Services. You can disable all location tracking or disable tracking by app. To disable location tracking in iOS 11, open Settings, Privacy, Location Services, System Services, Significant Locations, and turn it off. To disable location tracking in Android, open Settings, Connections, Location, and turn off your location. To disable Wi-Fi scanning, tap improve accuracy and turn off Wi-Fi scanning. To disable Bluetooth scanning, tap improve accuracy and turn off Bluetooth scanning. Even if these interfaces are disabled, they will continue to scan for nearby Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices if the settings are left on. Web browser history. All web browsers track where you've gone in a feature called the web browser history. Web browser histories can be deleted by caching or clearing the browser history. Non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is a method of guaranteeing message transmission between parties via digital signature and or encryption. Non-repudiation is also a legal term that refers to any situation in which an individual cannot challenge their authorship of a document. Non-repudiation has also been extended to refer to situations in which an individual cannot deny being present in a location as well. Non-repudiation methods include video, biometrics, signature, and receipts. Video. So high quality video recordings of an individual entering, leaving, or occupying a space can be used to determine if someone was present in an unauthorized location. Biometric identification is a highly effective way of determining an individual's presence physically or on a computer's system or network. Signature. When combined with a hardware token, a digital signature provides a high degree of validity of the sender of a message. And finally, receipt. Digital receipts are just that, receipts proving that a message was sent from a sender to a receiver. Digital receipts can provide a high degree of certainty of the ID of the sender. Due to malware being used to send a message, a receipt alone is not absolute proof of the ID of the sender. All right. So that is our class. So let's go ahead and get into some of this check on learning. Question number 1, what the user knows, what the user has, and who the user is are examples of which of the following? Would it be multi-factor authentication, software tokens, non-repudiation, or single-factor authentication? So what they know, what they have, and who they are. And the correct answer would be multi-factor authentication. Next question. You want to print a color presentation at 7 p.m., but the color laser printer won't be available until 9 a.m. tomorrow. What type of access control is in use in your organization? Would this be mandatory? Would this be rule-based? Would this be discretionary? Or would this be single factor? So you want to print at 7 p.m., but the printer won't be available till 9 in the morning. The correct answer would be rule-based. Rule-based access control. So RBAC, or one of the RBACs. All right. And final question. Which of the following terms specifically refers to methods for recording users' access to internal and external resources? Would it be authorization? Would it be accounting? Would it be authentication? Or would it be repudiation? So which of the following terms refers to methods for recording users' access to internal and external resources? The correct answer would be accounting. Accounting is the correct answer. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, we have talked about authentication, authorization, accounting, and non-repudiation. So if you want more information on this, please visit my website, technologyg.com, so you can get read up on the latest and greatest to help you successfully pass your CompTIA IT Fundamentals Certification Exam. And until next video, ladies and gentlemen, peace.